The pristine halls of the Galactic Academy of Sciences gleamed under the light of 3 moons, their crystalline walls reflecting countless stars from the space beyond. Lyra Novak stood at the entrance, her breath catching in her throat as she took in the magnificent sight. As the first human ever admitted to this prestigious institution, she felt the weight of her species' future resting heavily on her shoulders. The Academy, nestled on the neutral world of Proxima 7, represented the pinnacle of scientific achievement in the known universe. Its halls had produced the greatest minds of a dozen species, but never before had they opened their doors to what many considered a primitive race. Lyra clutched her acceptance tablet tightly, its soft blue glow a reminder of her accomplishments. At just 19, she had revolutionized quantum entanglement theory on Earth, catching the attention of the Academy's admission board. But as she watched the graceful forms of various alien species gliding through the halls, their bodies seemingly defying gravity, she wondered if raw intelligence would be enough. Another specimen from the oxygen breathers section. The words, dripping with disdain, came from behind her. Lyra turned to face a tall, ethereal figure with iridescent skin that seemed to ripple like the surface of a soap bubble. The Centurion student's multifaceted eyes studied her with obvious contempt. "I am HFY, lead researcher in quantum mechanics." The Centurion's voice resonated in Lyra's mind rather than her ears. "I suggest you find your way to the biological studies department. They might find your species interesting." Several nearby students tittered, their various forms of laughter creating an unsettling chorus. Lyra straightened her spine, forcing herself to meet HFY's gaze. "Actually, I'm here for the Advanced Quantum Physics program. I'm Lyra Novak." The corridor fell silent. HFY's skin shifted from its peaceful azure to a sharp violet. "Impossible. Your species barely understands basic space travel. The quantum realm is far beyond your comprehension." "My paper on reverse quantum tunneling suggests otherwise," Lyra replied, keeping her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I believe you'll find it referenced in your latest research proposal." HFY's skin flashed a brilliant red before settling into a mottled pattern of confusion. Without another word, the Centurion turned and glided away, leaving Lyra alone in the corridor. As Lyra made her way to her assigned quarters, she couldn't help but notice the whispers that followed her. Some species used traditional speech, others communicated through color changes or pheromones, but the message was clear: she didn't belong. Her room, at least, provided some comfort. The Academy had done its best to accommodate human needs, installing a gravity regulator and atmosphere adjuster. As she unpacked her few belongings, a soft chime indicated an incoming message on her tablet. "Welcome, Student Novak," the message read. "Your first assessment begins tomorrow at dawn. Location, Quantum Simulation Chamber 7. Note, this is an advanced placement test. Failure will result in immediate program reassignment." Lyra sank onto her bed, realizing this was no coincidence. HFY, as lead researcher, would have the authority to demand such an assessment. The Centurion was trying to prove humans didn't belong in the advanced programs. But as Lyra reviewed her notes late into the night, she felt a fierce determination growing within her. She hadn't come this far to be dismissed without a chance. Tomorrow, she would prove that humanity deserved its place among the stars. Through her window, she could see HFY in the adjacent building, working in a laboratory filled with equipment she had only dreamed of using. The Centurion's skin glowed with confidence as they manipulated quantum fields with casual expertise. "Watch closely, HFY," Lyra whispered to herself as she prepared for bed. "You might just learn something about human persistence." The night cycle brought strange sounds and otherworldly lights, but Lyra barely noticed them. Her mind was already racing through quantum equations, preparing for whatever challenges tomorrow might bring. She would show them all that humanity's worth couldn't be measured by the age of their civilization, but by the strength of their determination to learn and grow. The quantum simulation chamber hummed with energy as Lyra faced her assessment. The vast, spherical room was lined with neural interfaces and quantum field generators, technology far more advanced than anything she had worked with on Earth. ZYXRA stood at the control panel, their skin emanating smug confidence. The test is simple, ZYXRA's thoughts resonated in Lyra's mind. Stabilize a quantum singularity using only the tools provided. You have 1 standard hour. The Centurion's skin rippled with amusement. That is, if you understand the concept of quantum manipulation at all. Lyra approached the central platform, where holographic controls flickered to life at her touch. She recognized some of the symbols from her studies, but others were completely alien. Around her, a small crowd of students and faculty had gathered to watch the human attempt what many considered an advanced graduate-level task. As Lyra began the sequence, she noticed something odd about the quantum readings. The singularity wasn't behaving according to standard models. She glanced at ZYXRA, whose skin now showed traces of anticipation. This wasn't just a test, it was a trap. The singularity began to pulse erratically, its energy signatures suggesting imminent collapse. Gasps echoed through the chamber as students backed away. A collapse at this scale could tear a hole in the fabric of spacetime itself. But where others saw chaos, Lyra saw patterns. During her research on Earth, she had observed similar anomalies in quantum behavior. The traditional approach would fail, but she had developed an alternative theory, one that had been dismissed as too radical by her peers. "Stop the test," someone shouted. "The containment field is failing." ZYXRA moved to shut down the system, but Lyra's voice cut through the panic. "Wait. I can stabilize it." Her fingers flew across the holographic controls, implementing her unconventional solution. Instead of fighting the quantum fluctuations, she began harmonizing with them, using Earth's quantum entanglement principles in ways never before attempted at the Academy. The singularity's erratic pulses gradually synchronized with her adjustments. The chamber filled with a soft, steady glow as the quantum field stabilized into a perfect sphere of contained energy. Lyra stepped back from the controls, her heart racing but her hands steady. Silence fell over the chamber. ZYXRA's skin had turned a pale, astonished white. "Impossible," they whispered, the thought barely reaching Lyra's mind. The harmonization theory, it was theoretical. No one has ever. On Earth, we learn to think differently, Lyra explained, her voice carrying clearly through the stunned silence. When you don't have advanced technology, you have to find creative solutions. The Academy's quantum physics director, a being of pure energy named Resonance, floated forward. "Student Novak, your approach to quantum harmonization is unprecedented. It could revolutionize our understanding of particle physics." ZYXRA's skin churned with conflicting colors as they studied the data readings. The test had been designed to humble the human, to prove their species' inadequacy. Instead, it had revealed something extraordinary. Later that day, as Lyra sat in the Academy's observation dome watching distant galaxies spiral overhead, she heard the distinctive sound of a Centurion approaching. ZYXRA's skin had settled into a deep blue of contemplation. "Your solution," they began, their thoughts tentative. "It should not have worked. Yet it did." "How?" Lyra smiled. "Sometimes the best solutions come from those who don't know something is impossible. We humans have a habit of doing the unexpected." "Perhaps." ZYXRA's skin shifted to a more neutral tone, "Perhaps there is more to learn from your species than I had assumed. The quantum harmonization theory you demonstrated, would you be willing to explain it further?" The request surprised Lyra. Coming from ZYXRA, it was practically an apology. "Of course," she replied. "Though you might need to help me understand some of the advanced equipment here in return." As they began discussing quantum theories, other students gradually drew closer, their initial prejudice giving way to genuine curiosity. Lyra's success had done more than prove her worth, it had opened a dialogue between species. But as the discussion deepened, none of them noticed the shadowy figure observing from a distance, recording every word of their conversation. The human's unexpected breakthrough had attracted attention far beyond the Academy's walls, and not all of it was benevolent. In her quarters that night, Lyra received another message on her tablet: "Your quantum harmonization theory interests us greatly. The consortium would like to discuss opportunities." The sender was anonymous, but the implications were clear. Her achievement had just made her a target in a game she didn't yet understand. The Academy's restricted archives stretched deep beneath the surface of Proxima 7, a labyrinth of knowledge deemed too sensitive for general access. Lyra found herself here late one night, following a trail of breadcrumbs left by the mysterious consortium message. Her quantum harmonization breakthrough had granted her unprecedented access privileges, but something felt wrong. The data crystals she'd been studying showed signs of tampering, subtle alterations in quantum research dating back decades. "You should not be here." The thought voice startled her, but it wasn't hostile. ZYXRA emerged from between the towering data stacks, their skin a muted gray of concern. "The archives are not safe during null hours." "Look at this," Lyra whispered, gesturing to the crystal matrix she'd been examining. "These quantum formulas, they're corrupted. Someone's been systematically altering research data." ZYXRA glided closer, their multifaceted eyes scanning the information. Their skin shifted to a deep purple of alarm. "Impossible. These are protected by quantum encryption. Unless..." They fell silent, their skin paling rapidly. "Unless what?" Lyra pressed. "Unless someone has already weaponized your harmonization theory." ZYXRA's thoughts carried an edge of fear. "The way you synchronized with quantum fluctuations, it could be used to break any encryption, to alter the very fabric of reality itself." A distant sound echoed through the archives. Both students froze. ZYXRA's skin turned nearly transparent, a sign of extreme agitation. "We must leave. Now." They barely made it to the upper levels before security drones swept through the archives. Safe in a forgotten study room, Lyra and ZYXRA began piecing together what they'd discovered. "The consortium," Lyra said, pulling up their message. "They knew about my theory before I even demonstrated it." "How is that possible?" ZYXRA's skin swirled with patterns of deep thought. "There have been rumors, whispers of a shadow organization within the Academy. Scientists who believe that knowledge should not be shared equally among species. They believe in superiority. Like you did?" Lyra couldn't help asking. ZYXRA's skin flushed with shame. "My prejudice was born of ignorance. Their beliefs are far more dangerous. They seek to control the flow of scientific knowledge, to maintain power through technological supremacy." As they talked, Lyra began entering calculations into her tablet. "If they've been corrupting research data, there must be a pattern. Help me analyze these formulas." Working together, they uncovered a disturbing truth. The altered research all pointed to one goal: the development of a quantum weapon capable of targeting specific genetic markers. A weapon that could theoretically eliminate entire species while leaving others unharmed. "This is genocide," Lyra whispered, horror creeping into her voice. "They're building a quantum plague." ZYXRA's skin had turned a deep, troubled black. "And your harmonization theory may have given them the final piece they needed. The consortium's message: they weren't offering you an opportunity. They were warning you to stay silent." A soft chime interrupted them. Lyra's tablet displayed a new message: "Your curiosity is admirable but dangerous. The natural order must be preserved. Final warning. They're watching us." ZYXRA's thoughts came quickly now. "The archives, the security drones, they knew we'd investigate. We've walked into their web." Lyra felt a chill run down her spine. "We have to stop them." "But how? We don't even know who they are." Not all of the Academy's faculty supports the consortium, ZYXRA replied, their skin showing hints of determined gold. Director Resonance, they've always advocated for open sharing of knowledge between species. We need allies. And evidence, Lyra added, already formulating a plan. They've been careful, but quantum corruption leaves traces. If we can prove what they're doing, it would mean exposing ourselves, ZYXRA warned. The consortium's influence reaches far beyond the Academy. We would be marking ourselves as targets. Lyra met their gaze steadily. On Earth, we have a saying, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing. I won't stand by while they turn my discovery into a weapon of mass destruction. ZYXRA's skin rippled with admiration. Then we stand together. But we must be careful. The consortium has had decades to embed itself within the Academy. Trust no one. As they began planning their next move, neither noticed the tiny quantum fluctuation in the corner of the room, a silent witness broadcasting their every word to hidden listeners. The game they had stumbled into was far more dangerous than either of them realized, and the players far more powerful than they could imagine. In the depths of the Academy, behind walls of quantum shielding, the consortium's leaders were already moving their pieces into position. The humans' interference had accelerated their timeline, but perhaps that wasn't entirely unfortunate. After all, every experiment needed a test subject. Director Resonance's office pulsed with ethereal light as Lyra and ZYXRA presented their evidence. The being of pure energy hovered silently, absorbing their findings about the corrupted research data and the consortium's plans. These accusations are grave, Resonance's thoughts echoed through the room. The existence of a quantum genetic weapon would violate every principle of galactic law. Yet, I fear you may be correct. Lyra stepped forward, her tablet displaying the altered formulas. We've tracked the data corruption back through multiple departments. Someone high in the Academy's hierarchy must be involved. Someone like me, perhaps. The thought carried a sharp edge that made both students freeze. Resonance's energy form condensed, becoming more intense. Did you consider that by bringing this to me, you might be walking into a trap? ZYXRA's skin turned ashen. You're one of them. Not exactly. Resonance's form shifted, revealing a quantum communication array behind them. But I have been monitoring their activities, waiting for the right moment to act. Your discovery of the quantum harmonization theory changed everything, Lyra Novak. The director's next thoughts carried the weight of revelation. The consortium isn't just within the Academy, they've infiltrated governments across the galaxy. They believe that younger species like humans pose a threat to galactic stability. Your breakthrough proved their point. In just a few generations, humanity achieved what took other species centuries. So they want to eliminate us? Lyra's voice trembled with anger. To preserve their version of order? Not just humans. Resonance projected a series of genetic markers. Any species they deem too innovative, too unpredictable. The quantum plague would be selective, targeting specific evolutionary patterns. ZYXRA moved protectively closer to Lyra, their skin radiating fierce orange determination. We won't let that happen. No, we won't, Resonance agreed. But opposing them requires absolute secrecy. The consortium has eyes everywhere, which is why I've maintained certain appearances. A soft chime interrupted them. Lyra's tablet displayed a message that made her blood run cold. Betrayal has consequences. Check your quarters. Racing through the Academy's corridors, Lyra and ZYXRA burst into her room to find it completely ransacked. Her research notes were gone, and on her desk sat a single data crystal. It's a quantum recording, ZYXRA observed, their skin shifting nervously. The crystal activated, projecting an image of an elegant Centurion elder. Greetings, Lyra Novak. I am first speaker Vex Thor of the Centurion Science Council. Or as you might know us, the Consortium. The elder's skin rippled with authoritative patterns. Your interference in matters beyond your understanding has forced our hand. Even now, quantum decay agents are being released into Earth's atmosphere. Unless you surrender yourself and your research within 6 hours, your world will experience a very selective plague. The recording ended, leaving them in stunned silence. HFY's skin had turned almost black with horror. They're going to kill your entire species. Not if we stop them first. Lyra was already calculating possibilities. The quantum decay agents, they'd need a transmission network to coordinate the release. If we could disrupt it. The Academy's quantum array, Resonance's thoughts interrupted as they materialized in the room. It's part of their network. But accessing it would mean walking straight into their trap, Lyra finished. She looked at her alien friends, seeing her own determination reflected in their very different forms. Then that's exactly what we'll do. But as they began planning their desperate counterstrike, doubt crept into Lyra's mind. The consortium had been 2 steps ahead of them from the beginning. What if this plan was exactly what they wanted? In the quantum labs below, first speaker Vexthor watched the surveillance feeds with satisfaction. The humans' predictable heroics would serve their purpose perfectly. Sometimes, the best way to spring a trap was to let your prey think they were springing one of their own. Unknown to any of them, deep in the Academy's quantum network, something unprecedented was occurring. The corrupted research data was beginning to resonate at frequencies that shouldn't have been possible, as if reality itself was preparing to unravel. The Academy's central quantum array towered before them, its crystalline structure pulsing with barely contained energy. Lyra, HFY, and Director Resonance had fought their way through layers of security, but the real battle was about to begin. The quantum harmonization has to be perfect, Lyra explained, her fingers dancing across the control interface. One mistake and we could trigger a cascade failure across the entire network. HFY's skin flickered with nervous patterns as they monitored the surrounding quantum fields. The consortium's agents are converging on our location. We have minutes at most. Less than that, Resonance's thoughts carried a note of urgency. The quantum decay agents are already beginning to affect Earth's atmosphere. The process will be irreversible in 17 minutes. Lyra took a deep breath, focusing on the complex equations flowing through her mind. Her quantum harmonization theory had never been tested at this scale. Success meant saving Earth and exposing the consortium. Failure meant the death of her entire species. The chamber doors burst open. First speaker Vexthor glided in, flanked by a dozen consortium guards. The elder Centurion's skin radiated patterns of smug triumph. Brave, but foolish, Vexthor's thoughts resonated through the room. Did you really think we wouldn't anticipate your plan? Your quantum harmonization theory belongs to us now. The natural order will be preserved. Natural order. Lyra's voice cut through the tension. There's nothing natural about genocide. You're so afraid of change that you'd rather commit mass murder than accept that younger species might have something to teach you. You understand nothing, Vexthor replied. We have guided galactic civilization for millennia. We have seen countless species rise and destroy themselves with technology they weren't ready to control. The quantum plague is mercy, preventing a greater catastrophe. While they talked, HFY had been subtly shifting position, their skin matching the chamber walls almost perfectly. Resonance's energy form had also begun to pulse in an odd rhythm, creating interference in the quantum fields. Lyra smiled. You're right about one thing. We did have a plan. Just not the one you think. She activated the sequence she'd prepared, not to disrupt the quantum network, but to enhance it. The harmonization wave she released didn't fight against the quantum decay agents, it synchronized with them, transforming their very nature. Impossible. Vexthor's skin turned stark white as the quantum fields around them began to shift. What have you done? The same thing I did in my first test, Lyra explained, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Instead of fighting the quantum fluctuations, I'm redirecting them. Your weapon isn't destroying my world, it's evolving your network. The quantum array erupted with light as decades of corrupted research data suddenly harmonized with Lyra's modifications. Every quantum terminal in the Academy began broadcasting the truth, the consortium's plans, their manipulations, their intended genocide. Now, Resonance's thought sparked action. ZYXRA emerged from their camouflage, their skin blazing with electromagnetic pulses that disrupted the guards' weapons. Resonance's energy form expanded, containing the consortium members in a quantum stasis field. But Vexthor wasn't finished. The Elder Centurion activated a hidden command sequence, and the quantum array began to overload. If we fall, we'll take you all with us. Lyra's fingers flew across the controls, trying to contain the cascade. The power buildup is too much, it'll tear apart the fabric of space-time. Not if we work together. ZYXRA moved to her side, their skin glowing with determination. Your harmonization, my electromagnetic control. And my quantum manipulation, Resonance added, their energy form interweaving with the array's fields. In that moment, three vastly different forms of consciousness merged through the quantum network. Human intuition, Centurion precision, and pure energy manipulation combined in a way never before attempted. The quantum cascade peaked, then transformed. Instead of destruction, it created something new, a perfectly harmonized quantum field that spread through the galaxy, making the kind of selective targeting the consortium had planned impossible forever. As security forces took the consortium members into custody, Lyra looked at her friends, one a being of pure energy, the other an alien who had once despised her entire species. Together, they had proved that the true strength of the galaxy lay not in preserving some artificial order, but in the infinite possibilities that arose when different species worked together. What happens now? ZYXRA asked, their skin showing swirls of uncertain blue. Now, Lyra replied, smiling, we really start learning from each other. After all, we've only begun to discover what's possible. In the days that followed, the Academy underwent profound changes. The consortium's influence was rooted out, and new policies were established ensuring the free exchange of knowledge between all species. Lyra's quantum harmonization theory became the foundation for a new field of study, one that focused on finding harmony in diversity rather than enforcing uniformity. And in the Academy's Great Hall, where Lyra had once stood as an outsider, a new memorial was erected. It showed three figures, human, Centurion, and energy being, their forms intertwined in an endless dance of quantum harmony, a testament to the power of unity through adversity.